Today I'm going to give away a free t-shirt, bring you a Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fight, bring you comics news, and reveal the books I bought this week. How y'all doing? I'm Victor, and you are watching a Comic Hero show. Now kick that intro! This week's edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. This month is Diabetes Awareness Month. Now, diabetes is a group of diseases that results in too much sugar in the blood, or high blood glucose. Now, there are four common types of diabetes. Now, the first is type 2. Now, that's when it's a chronic condition that affects the way the body processes blood sugar. The second one is type 1, and that's when the pancreas produces little or no insulin. And then there's the third, which is prediabetes. It's a condition in which blood sugar is high, but not high enough to be type 2. And then the final one is gestational diabetes. Now, this only occurs within women. It's a form of high blood sugar that affects pregnant women. Now, it goes away upon giving birth, but at the same time, women who have gestational diabetes while pregnant are in danger of having diabetes later on in later on in life, excuse me. And I personally know some folks who have had any of these forms of diabetes. I know pregnant women that have ended up getting, women that have given birth, diagnosed rather, with gestational diabetes that have given birth and then only to have it later on in life. And I've known some folks to swear off diabetes after having pre-diabetes, and taking good care of themselves and watching what they eat. And that's one of the things about it, folks. And even if you're not pre-diabetic, what we need to watch what we eat. I mean, it runs in my family, honestly. My aunt, well, two of my aunts and my grandmother either have or have had diabetes, and my aunt, one of my aunts that passed from complications of it, and then my grandmother had it, and my other aunt currently has it. It can be managed. It can also be managed with medication. Well, it can also be managed with medication. Now, medication can only go so far if you let it. But if you you take care of yourself, you eat right, you exercise, you just do the right thing, then you're going to be fine. Now, some of the symptoms of diabetes is increased thirst, frequent urination, extreme hunger, presence of ketones in the urine, fatigue, or in other words, when you get like real tired or whatever, irritability, and blurred vision. And then also slow healing wounds. In other words, if you hurt yourself and your wound doesn't heal like it should, that is another symptom. And I know other people that have that currently live with diabetes. I also know some people that have died from complications of it. It's all about taking care of ourselves. And I can't stress how important that is. And it doesn't matter how old or young you may be, or whether you're male or female. We all need to take care of ourselves. And this is a Diabetes Awareness Month in Comic Hero Tea. And inside the speech bubble, you have the drops of blood. Now, the colors for the colors for Diabetes Awareness Month are powder blue, red, and gray. And also I have this this Diabetes Awareness Month ribbon, and then also this memorial patch, and that's for every man and woman who has ever lost their life due to complications of diabetes. I mean, this is a very serious thing, and I feel like a lot of folks aren't really taking it seriously enough, and we just need to do better, and not just in terms of our health, but in terms of, you know, what kind of lifestyles we live. I mean, lifestyles and health are two of the most important things that a person can have. A lot of times it's violated, and we need to do better. All right, it's time to give away a free t-shirt. All right, on last week's episode, I asked, what is Hal Jordan's pilot name or call name? Now, I gave a hint on last week's episode and also on social media, but it's also the name of an alcoholic mixture that composes of a 40% alcoholic spirit and 60% non-alcoholic beverage, like a soda or orange juice or anything like that. Well, the correct answer is highball. And 6 people have answered correctly, and because they've answered correctly, their name's been entered in a drawing for a free tea. And that drawing takes place right now. So the winner of the free tea for this week's episode of the show is... Ooh, pulled 2 names here. Will Norwood from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So congratulations, Will. You win yourself a free Comic Hero tee. Alright, here's the question for next week's episode, and this is a Batman question. True or false? Jason Todd has taken up almost every mantle in the Bat family. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered into a drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. Alright, now last week I gave y'all the opportunity of requesting Veterans Day themed Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fights. And last week I went with one by Jake Young from Springfield, Missouri. But there was also another one that was requested by Graham Fraser from Leytonstone, London, that I really liked a lot. And this one features a character in the DC universe that's not used very much, but is a great character, going up against a Marvel character who is now a very unfortunate version of the Watcher called the Unseen. Representing DC, we have the Unknown Soldier. And representing Marvel, we have Nick Fury. These two are going to duke it out in a segment I like to call... The Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Welcome to the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Today, it's the Unknown Soldier versus Nick Fury Jr. The Unknown Soldier is a weapons expert, master of disguise, and expert combatant. Nick Fury is an expert hand-to-hand combatant who possesses superhuman agility, speed, strength, healing, and halted and slowed aging due to the Infinity Formula being in his DNA. Who would win? This fight would start off with hand-to-hand combat. The two would trade punches, kicks, and blocks for minutes on end, with the Unknown Soldier taking the brunt of the punches and kicks. In an effort to slow down Fury, the Unknown Soldier plays a dirty trick. He instantly disguises himself as Nick Fury Sr. Fury Jr. becomes startled just as he is about to punch the Unknown Soldier. The latter trips up the former. Fury then notices the dog tags on the Unknown Soldier and says, "I can't fight you. That's like fighting against our country. Come on, I'll take you to the moon. There's someone I want you to meet." Of course, he's talking about his dear old dad, Nick Fury Sr., who is now the Watcher known as the Unseen. America wins. And that concludes this fight on the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Thank you, Graham Fraser, for that fight. I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I'll have another one for next week. Now, if y'all have any fight requests y'all want to make, go ahead and do so. Now it's time for Comically Speaking, so without further ado, let's talk comics! Alright, there are two things I want to talk about in this segment of Comically Speaking. And the first one is that of the news that Wonder Woman 1984 is to premiere in theaters and on HBO Max on Christmas Day. Now, here's my thing. and this is kind of from a personal standpoint, but I've been contemplating whether I should order HBO Max or wait until next year. But now that I found out about this, I definitely want to subscribe to it before, right before Christmas, because I'm really looking forward to watching this movie. I think of course it's directed by Patty Jenkins, who directed the first Wonder Woman movie and completely knocked it out of the park, and I'm quite sure she's going to do the same with this one. And of course it stars Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, Kristen Wiig as Cheetah, and then I didn't know this until a few weeks ago, but it also stars Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord. Now, for those of y'all who don't know who Pedro Pascal is, although if you don't watch Disney, the Mandalorian, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. But Pedro Pascal plays the lead role on The Mandalorian. Of course, he plays the Mandalorian himself, and I believe that if he, we all know what a fantastic job he does, playing that role, and I'm quite sure he's going to do the same with Maxwell Lord. Really looking forward to it. So Wonder Woman in theaters and on HBO Max, Christmas Day. All right, now the second thing is that after being shelved due to the comic shutdown that took place in April due to the pandemic, Black Panther is to hit bookshelves again in February. Now, really looking forward to this because the last issue I bought was issue number 22, and what's happening in this volume right now is that Black Panther had found, or T'Challa had found out that there is a that someone had started an intergalactic kingdom of Wakanda, off deep in space. So T'Challa and a few others go out there to investigate, and while doing so, they end up getting kidnapped, and he was mind wiped, and he couldn't remember anything. But he had recently got his memory back, and it returned to Earth. And the last 3 issues is going to conclude, and sadly, it's also going to conclude the run by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Now, Coates has been a writer of Black Panther since 2015. I think this is his 2nd volume on the book, and I hate to see him go. He has really brought T'Challa and the entire kingdom of Wakanda to a whole new level. And it was all and to be honest, his run on Black Panther inspired the movie. I mean, it primarily inspired the movie, but then there were other writers runs that inspired the movie as well. But this one played a huge part in the movie that was directed by Ryan Coogler, and also when T'Challa made his debut in Captain America: Civil War. And Coates is also currently writing Captain America and doing a fantastic job writing that as well. And I just hate to see him go, because one thing about story arcs, like one thing, I love a good book. I love good comics. I love if they're written well and they're drawn well. And one thing about me, I want more. And I just hate that, he's moving on. But, what writer do you know has been on the same book since day one? Or, I mean, there have been a lot of writers and artists that have had lengthy runs over the years. But, sometimes that's the business. Sometimes you just have to move on and then pass the baton to someone else. And I just hope whoever writes Black Panther after him is going to do a great job as well. Now I would be naive to say that they're going to surpass Coates, because no one writes. Because this guy is a this guy is a non-fictional novelist by nature. But one thing about him, he really brings comics to life. Whether it's Black Panther or whether it's his current run on Captain America, he brings them to life, and I love what he does. and much success to him on any of his future endeavors. All right, now next week there was something else that I wanted to talk about on this segment of Comically Speaking, but I'm going to leave that for next week. And let me tell you, it's about it's X-Men related, and it's worth the wait. All right, that's it for Comically Speaking. Now let's get to the comics I bought this week.
Comic books I bought this week.
All right, first up is The Amazing Spider-Man number 52. The Amazing Spider-Man number 52, Last Remains. Aquaman number 65. Excalibur number 14. Marauders number 14. Marauders number 15. Superman number 27. Teen Titans number 47, and that's right, y'all reading it right. Final issue. Wolverine number 7. X-Men number 14. And finally, Teen Titans number 20. Final issue as well. Alright, that's 11, which brings the total number of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 10,287. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Here's a question again for a free tee for next week's episode of the show. True or false? Jason Todd has taken up almost every mantle in the Bat family. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. And congratulations to Will Norwood from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, who won a free tee on this week's episode. Alright, speaking of next week's episode, I'm celebrating Thanksgiving. Now, I know this has been a very hard year for a lot of people. I mean, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's social injustice, or whether it's any other form of adversity that's plagued this year. We should all have something to be thankful for, and I think the one thing that out of anything else that we have to be thankful for is that we're still here. Now it stinks that COVID-19 has taken so many lives. I mean, here in America, it's taken over 250,000 people, and I hate that. But if you're watching this, you're still here. That's something to be thankful for. That's something to shout about. And I'm thankful that I'm still here. I'm thankful that my family is still here. I'm thankful that you're still here. And that's pretty much it. And again, to all my folks that that have diabetes, you're gonna beat this. I mean, just do what your doctors advise you to do. Do the right thing, and you're gonna. I mean, I know it stinks, and I know because I've had family members that have lived with it. But just hang in there. You're gonna get through this. I just know it. And I don't ask this very often, but if y'all have any suggestions for the show, anything that y'all think that would make it better, please, by all means, let me know. No one's ideas ever fall upon deaf ears. All right, I'm Victor Nolly on the Comic Hero. I'll see you next week for episode 334. So until then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero.